No, I tell you what, let me call you after lunch. It's going to be available. Okay. I'm getting a little talk right now. Someone need to call you back, okay? They do not. These are actually, when you walk up to it, you don't hear anything, see anything, feel anything, smell anything. It just sits there. And they after you can go either way, right or left. You can go to the left, that'll be fine. And you see the camera. You see the cameras up on all these poles. They've got camera systems on all these poles that they can actually monitor what it is. And they have, from time to time, they'll have a wild animal like a possum or something that'll dig under the fence and come in and break the security beam. And they can pull it up on the camera and see what it is that's causing the problem out here. But if you'll notice, looking at the back of the panels, you notice they're a little bit translucent. They're not opaque completely. When the sun's shining bright, there's some light that actually penetrates through that, and it's because it's so thin. And they're actually a very, very thin layers of glass, and it's impact resistant glass, so it can withstand a hailstorm. It will not break easily. It's they're tough, very tough. And that's the wires I was telling you about. You see the wires underneath there that actually hook to the panels. And it's a very simple. It comes in like an erector set. It all comes in on semi trucks. They take it, just bolt it together, put the panels up there, bolt them down, hook the wires together. They plug together like a wiring harness. Just they just basically plug in and unplug. Very, very simple. But you see these buildings out here that have shelters over them, those are the inverters. That's actually the mechanisms that convert it from direct current to alternating current. There's 10 of them out here. There's one for each 2 megawatts. Probably just put a good road all the way around like this. It's well, I've only mowed this one time this year, and I put out herbicide one time. But typically, as you mow it 3 times a year, put out herbicide at least twice. You just swing out wide. There you go. These panels have actually been washed twice in the last 18 months. They just got through washing them last week. Do y'all believe that each one of these panels was washed by hand? They actually washed all these panels by hand with squeegees. There was 2 guys with a pressure washer and 2 squeegees that actually went down and washed it like you would a windows, and then pressure washed the debris off. And what happens is pollen and dust stick to the panels, and it restricts the sunlight getting into the silicon. It cuts the power output, and they can measure that very, very closely. So once it gets to a certain point, they wash the panels, clean them to get the output to come back up to normal standards. They washed it twice in 18 months. So, and it's very expensive to wash, and there's not much equipment that does it. So as a result of that, they have to do it by hand.
How long did it take you?
It took them 5.5 weeks out here to wash them by hand.
All of them?
All of them. They just got through last week. They started 5:30 in the morning, and they quit at 11 o'clock in the daytime because it got so hot.
So you shut down the power before?
The monitoring company out in San Diego knew exactly what the power was supposed to be, how much was supposed to be coming out of here, and it was less than that. So they knew that it needed washing. It gets to a point where it's cost effective to do, and then let's wash them and they get the power back up. So what happens is, what gets on these panels and causes problems is pollen and dust. You know how if you wash your mama's car or your dad's car and you just put it in the garage, If it sits there for 2 weeks, you notice all the dust on there? Even when you got it in the garage, how dirty it'll get just sitting there? That's the way these panels are. Dew will settle on the panels at night. Pollen settles on the dew. The dew evaporates off, and the pollen sticks to the panels. Adheres to it. It's layer after layer after layer after layer, particularly in the spring. And we have a lot of dust in the air in this area because of agricultural operations. And so you don't realize it until you're dealing with something like this. It has quite a bit of dust settled on it and a lot of pollen. And you can just take your finger and just do it like that, and just it'll turn yellow when you rub it off. So it's there's one of the inverters down to the left down there. You see that? Those buildings that are sitting out there, there's 10 of them. And that converts it from direct power, direct current to alternating current.
Now, when they get ready to clean it, do they cut them off or?
No, they don't. They don't. They just wash them with them on. That's right. That's right. They wash them. They standing in rubber boots now. But you know, it's grounded. But you know, anything man-made and on this scale can have some type of flaw in it, though, you know.
So those small black boxes are inverters?
That's an inverter right there. See those two buildings? Those are inverters.
Oh, those
are inverters. That's right. That converts it from direct current to alternating current out here. There's 10 of them. There's one for each 2 megawatts.
And those inverters convert from 1000 volt to how many?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay.
That's a good question. But we've got on the other side of the system out here. There's a small substation over there that does a step up on the electricity and gets it up to the level where they can put it right on the grid. That's I don't know. I don't know wherever the electricity is being used, where it goes, but it goes directly on this main line over here that came out of Plant Mitchell up here. Plant Mitchell, that main line that we went under coming in was a direct main line out of Plant Mitchell. And so that goes to this substation area just south of here. That's what this is all about. This is going to take up some of the shortfall of the electricity that's being taken out at Plant Mitchell when they decommission the plant. Yeah, they replaced it. I tell you, back up, Robert, if you will. Let me show them. I want to show them something. I told y'all earlier about the panel that got hit by the bullet out here. I don't think anybody was out here shooting. I think they just shot up in the air and the bullet came down randomly and hit one of these panels. And I'm going to show you what it did to it. They actually were able to isolate which one it was from San Diego. You can stop right here, Robert. Let me just step off right here. I'm going to hold this up and let y'all see what a bullet does to one of these things.
Can I get out and see it?
He's going to bring it in.
Oh, that one. Wow.
It almost missed.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh.
See how it shattered the whole thing?
Yeah.
It just came down from the air, we think. They came out and replaced it. They were able to isolate which one it was from San Diego.
Yeah.
It did not go all the way through. It just hit it and shattered it and bounced off. But it's impact resistant glass.
Yeah, I was talking about this size.
Yeah.
This size produce how many voltages? Only this size?
Those produce about 300 volts.
Oh, 300 volt, I see.
300 volts.
And one household can use that?
Yeah. A house wouldn't have but about probably 3 or 4 of those. These all replacement. Those are all good panels right there.
Oh, okay. Let's take it.
So it's each one of these panels is about $370.
Oh, not much.
Not much.
Not much.
No, all it is just glass. If you look at it, it's not anything to it. Just tap there. I mean, it's just it's sealed up. You see, it's sealed with caulking around the inside of it, and it's just an aluminum frame around 2 sheets of glass and a real thin layer of silicon, and this is your wiring for either your positive or your negative. See this aluminum wiring in here?
Yes, yes.
That's on one side, and then you got the your one's positive, one's negative, and it just hooks together in a plug, just like I told you. They just plug together. See how they just hook together, just like a harness.
Right.
They just plug in. You know? Just fit right in together like that.
Oh, now is it shorted now? Because
No. I just that one's positive, one's negative. But I'm just showing you there. The wires are just.
Oh, I see.
They just hook together just like a puzzle.
I see.
Really simple.
Simple, right.
They bring it in on semi trucks.
Yes, to kids in the laboratory is doing a small solar cell, running the car.
Yeah.
They did not have experience of big one.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. It puts off a lot of power.
Right.
Solar panels in now on their sites, a lot of them, and a lot of universities. You're going to see quite a bit of this. So this is probably a lot bigger than the one you'll see on a business or a school. On a school, you may have maybe three of these groups of panels at a school. That may be all there is, you know, and that produces a lot of electricity, you know. So it's
So what is the cost comparison between coal-fired and this per
you know,
unit?
I don't know. They got a contract. These people, when they built this, they got a contract with Georgia Power to produce electricity for 13 cents per kilowatt. 13 cents per kilowatt. And this is 20 megawatts. So you can do the math. It produces average about 5.2 hours a day. And actually, when you're in the office down here and the sun comes up, it produces power on a perfect bell curve. It does like this. It starts off at 0 and it kind of goes up. It peaks at 1, 2 o'clock, and then it starts descending. It declines. It's a perfect bell curve on the graph how it produces electricity.
Because
the output.
Sun is changing.
That's right.
Position.
It's indirect, very direct, and then it becomes indirect again.
Right.
So that's right.
When it is perpendicular, that is a maximum.
That's right. From probably 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the daytime is the
sun
maximum.
Is here, so
when it's directly overhead.
What's the average output though?
Like, I don't know.
Over a year per day average?
I don't know. You know, when it's raining, the sun's not shining, it's not producing much at all. It is producing some, but not a lot. And what's tricky about this is that when the sun's not shining, people still have to have electricity. And so what they have to have is a lot of measuring devices and a lot of switching gear that switches the output from this to traditional sources like gas powered or coal powered or water powered, and to take up